I'm staying focused on what I'm gonna be. I'm making that down, but I won't lose ground. 'Cause I'm still stuck in my destiny. I'm still stuck in my destiny.
Every time it's on everything, alive, you cheesing, I'm cheddaring. No matter the form of the weaponry, gotta keep stalking my destiny. Time's getting worse, I'm bettering. My sin is secure, ain't no tethering. I ain't gon' stop till I rest in peace and they put a hold on my great lettering. Every time, I ain't lay back unless I'm in my 300. Circle is little, cause I keep it 100. Minus my issues, I'm so hard when I'm on it. 100% ain't enough, I get 200. Every time, know what I'ma run from. I'm that one opponent, you don't hold none from. Manual van where my strength get pumped from. So what's the lie to a child of God? Standing toe to toe, hot now. The Lord is with me, you can't fight the rock. I got the sauce, you want my to hide. It's whatever. The destiny mine, I'ma stalk it out. The strength assassin, you just bought it out. Your giant carcass, I'ma walk it out. You gon' be wishing that you wouldn't have called me out. Cause every time be on that throw down, let's get us a showdown. Come and get some, I got another go around. Big as it is, so hard they go down. Since destiny something we can't change, but quitting will stop you from great gains. And faith will make capable great things. I done decided to break pain. Mess around and call me on my A game. So speed like the A train. The path that I'm stalking on, I gotta maintain. All by myself, I don't gang bang. When you want to get in my crown, then I'm down every time, not just now and then. Yeah, I heard you got your thousands, but me, yo, I got my 10,000s. God gave me dreams doing that, I would chase them.
I'm steady chasing, I'm staying focused on what I'm gonna be. I'm making it up, but I won't lose ground.
Good afternoon, BFAM 109.6. What up, y'all, on Facebook? And hello to my Stalk Your Destiny family at youtube.com. How are y'all doing today? This is Tea Time with Tarah, live and on air. I am your host, Tarah M. Williams, the voice of faith, hope, love, and leadership. Here we will discuss business and Bible basics. We believe you have a voice and it needs to be heard. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube page at Stalk Your Destiny. Also catch my other show, the Tea Time with Tarah show, and hear what previous guests needed on their journey to stalking their destiny. Okay, you can follow me on Instagram at Stalk Your Destiny Official. Again, I am Tarah M. Williams, the voice of faith, hope, love, and leadership. Welcome to Tea Time with Tarah, live and on air. All right, y'all, we have entered into a brand new month, the month of September. Thank God we made it, right? So today in our let me shout out my sponsor for this show today, y'all. My sponsor for this show today is yours truly, Stalk Your Destiny. At Stalk Your Destiny, we focus on identity, direction, and accountability. That means we go over who you are, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there. Okay? So our food for thought quote at 2:05 p.m. is always going to come from the ABCs to Stalk Your Destiny, which is one of my books. You can get this book at www.stalkyourdestiny.com/shop, okay? And so here's the food for thought for today. It says, if the execution plan is not adding up to the desired results, then the whole ordeal fails, y'all. If the execution plan is not adding up to the desired results, then the whole ordeal fails. Now, what does that mean? You know, when you're going after your goals or your dreams, what does that mean? You know, well, but I have a plan, you know, if I have a plan in place but it's not adding up. For some, that may mean that you're doing what you need to do to execute, but you're not getting the results on the end of it, meaning that something there's missing, right? Somewhere in there, we're missing either information or application, right? So we have to reassess our plan. And what I've noticed is that, so we have to reassess our plan. And what I've noticed is that for some, because as a life coach myself, I have noticed that for some people, it's not that they don't have a good plan in place. It's that they don't have a plan in place that is best for their lifestyle. They don't have a plan in place that works for how they operate. Okay. And so if your plan is being executed, you have a plan, it's being executed, and the results are not what you desired, then go back to the plan and see, is this plan actually something that I'm able to do naturally? And so that's a big deal with execution. That's a big deal with looking for things where you want to collect data on the end result of it. Okay. And so that's just saying, am I doing what's working for me? Oftentimes we get this information or advice from those around us that love us, even from those that support us, right? And they're giving us their best advice. They're giving us maybe the advice from their point of view, their perspective, or their experiences. And it's wonderful to have those people around. It's wonderful to take in that information. But you have to figure out, how do I apply what they're telling me in the best way for me to do it? Okay. And so I know I'm giving you a lot of pieces to this, but seriously, if what you're executing is not adding up to the desired results, then you can see, is it a timing thing? Is it, that I'm just trying to be like Mike over here, or am I being, this comes down to honoring yourself, you all. It comes down to honoring who you are. And so if I'm going to honor me and I'm going to execute this, it needs to be everything that I need it to be. It needs to be everything that is natural for me, basically, right? So be mindful of that. Be mindful that you are executing according to executing according to honoring yourself. And then don't be afraid to go back and see, where did I go wrong? Oftentimes we don't want to be wrong. And so we don't want to go back and we don't want to look at things. We don't want to see, where did I fall short at, And sometimes things just don't work out as well. You can do everything right, and it may be timing and things just don't work out. There's so many components to executing a plan, that sometimes it just may fail. And other times it just may be out of sync with the timing, or out of sync with where you are, with it, if you're being honorable to yourself or just honoring others. Okay. So keep that in mind, y'all. Okay. Again, that was the food for thought that came from the book ABCs to Stalk Your Destiny by Tarah and Williams. And you can get that book at www.stalkyourdestiny.com/shop. Okay, y'all? So our devotional for today, because this is business and Bible basics. Let me tell y'all about this book. Last month, we studied from the Earthly Branches 12-book devotional series. And I'm trying to put it in the camera for those of you online too. Sorry. We studied from this book, but we studied the topic New Beginnings. So you guys, if you missed last month, you can still go to www.stalkyourdestiny.com/shop and get your New Beginnings devotional. If you missed last month, if you just want to do it on your own, these devotionals are dedicated specifically for fasting, right? But you can also just use them in a way that if you just want to study the Bible more, you just want a practical tool to help you go forward in your relationship with God. Okay, so this month, the book that we're studying from in the Earthly Branches 12-book devotional series is Faith. We will be focusing on faith for the month of September. And I hope that this helps you guys grow in your faith. And I hope it challenges you in your faith as well. But mostly, I hope that it encourages you to move forward in your faith, personally, business-wise, spiritually, all those different things. Because with this being business and Bible basics, who's not doing business, and who doesn't have, who's listening in or watching this that doesn't actually have a foundation or a desire spiritually? Okay, so that's what this is for. Let me give you some spiritual food. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to read some of it, even pieces of it from different portions of it, okay? So this week, we are focusing on 2 Samuel chapter 7, okay? And so some of the things, I'm just going to skip through this chapter. I'm not going to read the whole chapter. I'm not going to read it straight through. I'm just going to skip around this chapter, okay? And then share with you all, okay? So After the king was settled in his palace and the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies around him, he said to Nathan the prophet, "Here I am, living in a house of cedar, while the ark of God remains in a tent." Okay, this is David talking. Nathan replied to the king, "Whatever you have in mind, go ahead and do it, for the Lord is with you." Okay? But that night, the word of the Lord came to Nathan saying, "Go and tell my servant David, this is what the Lord says. Are you the one to build me a house to dwell in? I have not dwelt in a house from the day I brought the Israelites up out of Egypt to this day. I have been moving from place to place with the tent as my dwelling. Wherever I have moved with all the Israelites, did I ever say to any of their rulers whom I commanded to shepherd my people Israel, why have you not built me a house of cedar? Now then, tell David, my servant, this is what the Lord Almighty says. I took you from the pasture, from tending the flock, and appointed you ruler over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have cut off all your enemies before you. Now I will make your name great, and like the names of the greatest men on earth. And I will provide a place for my people Israel, and will plant them so that they can have a home of their own." Okay, we skip around to, "The Lord declares to you that the Lord himself will establish a house for you." Then King David went and sat before the Lord, and he said, Who am I, sovereign Lord, and what is my family that you have brought me this far? Okay. And then later in this chapter, David prayed. He said, "Sovereign Lord, you are God. Your covenant is trustworthy, and you have promised these good things to your servant. Now be pleased to bless the house of your servant, that it may continue forever in your sight. For you, sovereign Lord, have spoken, and with your blessing, the house of your servant will be blessed forever." Okay, now that was me skipping around, guys. That was 2 Samuel chapter 7. Okay, and I was skipping around that. So please be sure to go back and read that for yourself. And April from California said, "I love what you said about the execution plan. What do you think are the most important things in a plan?" Okay, so thank you, April. The most important things in a plan would be, well, first of all, what is it that you want? Okay, most people go to the end of the thing first. What's the result that you want? And then go back to the beginning of what does it take to get there? Okay, and then where people stop at is they stop at what it takes to get to the end, but we need to break that down. So when we say, this is my goal and this is my things to do list, well, the things to do list is what needs to be broken down into smaller pieces of what am I going to do to get that done. For example, in preparing for this radio show, I have to set up a weekly schedule. I have to set up the show, right? But in order to do that setting up the show would be the end goal, right? But in order to set up the show, I've got to go back and review the ABCs to Stalk Your Destiny and see what business topic am I covering and how does that apply? I have to go back and study the earthly branches, read the scripture for myself and see, God, what do you want me to say from this, right? So there are having an end game, right? You have an end goal in mind. You have a list of things to do. And then you need to have, what does it take for this to go forward, for me to do those things, or people say, I'm going to start getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Well, okay, that's the end goal. So how are you going to do that? I'm just going to get up. I'm just going to start getting up. Well, that's not helpful, Some people say, okay, I'm going to set an alarm for 5 a.m. Well, you set an alarm for 5 a.m., but you like to snooze in the morning. So you have to honor that, right? And I know people say, don't snooze, don't snooze. But if you are a snoozer, plan for the snoozing so that you're still up on time and intentional about that. And so it just really, the best way to plan is to understand what you need, and then figure out what it takes to do that, and then break that down into what do I need to do in order to execute those things to do lists. Okay. And then reach the goal. And also make sure that you write down everything that it takes to get there, because if you skip steps in your planning, you're going to skip steps in your execution. Okay. And so be mindful that you're not skipping steps. I say with Stalk Your Destiny that we are connecting you to your destiny one step at a time. And you'd be surprised, so many entrepreneurs and just people in general want to skip steps. They just cannot just, no, you can't just. No, you can't just. You can combine tasks, but you cannot skip steps. Like they say, there are no shortcuts to success. So be mindful that in your planning stages of what to do, that you don't skip the things you'd rather not do. Also, be mindful that you do the hard things first. Doing the hard things first gets rid of your irritation, your agitation, your frustration, your procrastination. Making sure that you get those things done, because those are the toughest things. You got to push through those things and then get to the fun things. And there's something that, there's a quote I always say, and it is, I'm not sure where it came from. I did see it on a movie before, but I think I knew it before that. I wonder if my mom may have said it, but you do what you have to do first so that you can do what you want to do. And the movie I got that from was The Great Debaters. You do what you have to do so that you can do what you want to do. And so even in planning and execution, you do those things so that the fun of it is not taken away. And you're doing the hard things because you're passionate about whatever that end goal is, and achieving that. So thank you, April, for your question. Great question. You guys keep your comments coming, keep your questions coming, because this is where you have a voice and it needs to be heard as well. So I would love to share your questions or respond to whatever questions or comments you may have as well. Okay. So with the devotional, let me go back and read a couple of these pages, because guys, this is a daily devotional. It is interactive, meaning that you can write in this book. You can also write in the ABCs to Stalk Your Destiny as well. Both of these books are interactive because knowledge is knowledge if you know how to apply it and where to apply it. Okay. And so here, this says, the first point says, the Lord gave David rest. His enemies were all around, but God. While David had concerns about the house of the Lord versus the palace he was in, he was still able to rest or do as he felt right. Okay. The daily focus here says, keep your mind on the Lord and accept what he allows. Okay. So the question for this point says, how well are you resting? Just think about that. How well are you resting? Because most times when we have enemies all around us, who sleep? Who's sleeping? How are you resting and trusting God to provide for you, to protect you? You know, how well are you resting in that and keeping your mind on the Lord? It's easy to look at what we see around us. It's hard to see, God, where are you? You know, it's hard to see the evidence of the Lord around us when we are encamped by enemies, when things are happening left and right, life just keep lifing, and we're just like, God, where in the hell are you? Okay. So even in that, how are you resting? You know, are you concerned about your enemies, or are you trusting that the God that you serve is going to protect you and going to defend your enemies before you? So that's just something to think about there. Okay. Point 2 says, no matter where we go, God remains with us. He hears our concerns and responds. And let me stop right there. Okay, I'm gonna stop myself right there. He hears our concerns and responds. I was talking about this over the last week, that most people don't know how to hear from God. And we don't know how to hear from God because we're not sitting at the foot of understanding. We're not stopping what we're doing. We're not listening. People ask me all the time, like, how do you hear from God all the time? And how do you have, you know, all these prayers answered? And I'm just like, I listen. And I know that can sound easy. It's not really about it being easy or hard. I listen because I'm seeking a response. I listen because I'm expecting God to tell me something. I don't want to make up my own answer. I don't want to move before God speaks over something in my life. And the evidence is the fact that I write it down. I write down my prayers, and when I believe that God has responded to them, I write down the response. That's the evidence that I can go back to and say, well, God, I remember when I wrote this down months ago, and let me go back to it. And you did that. you did that for me in my life. So I have the evidence of God responding to my prayers. I have the evidence of God responding to my prayers in the lives of others, where they say, Terry, do you remember that you said X, Y, and Z? And I never remember. I'm like, no, I don't remember. I'm sorry, but what happened, you know? And they'll say, well, I asked you to pray for me and you did, or you let me know that God was telling you X, Y, and Z, and this is what happened. And I'm not saying that I'm a prophet, y'all. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that God responds to our prayers. And it's not always, it's almost never what we think or expect. But God does respond. He hears our concerns. He really does. And he does respond. And so Howie said, how do you focus enough to know what you're hearing is God and not just your own evil conscience telling you dumb stuff? Well, if my evil conscience was telling me dumb stuff, that's how you know right there. It's evil. It's evil and it's dumb. And so if that was what was being, what's happening, then you know that's not of God, However, how do you sit long enough? So I call this an hour of power, right? But this is just me pouring into you all and talking about different things. So I'm saying, okay, this is an hour of power, right? But sometimes you have to say you have an attitude, right? And you have an issue. And so you need God to respond to that. Well, I have a journal that I created for that purpose, okay? And I created it for myself because I needed a way to get out of my own head and into a space where I could hear God. You know how they say our heart posture has to be right before God. And so if you're angry, vent it out, and I don't mean talk. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can write it down or you can say, hey, God, I'm here. But, let me tell you X, Y, and Z, right? And get it all out because God cares, right? Vent it out. Say whatever you need to say out loud. Get that out, right? But then in the journal, I found myself trying to figure out what are 5 things with this issue that I'm grateful for. This issue, it got me all over the place. What are 5 things that I'm grateful for? Because gratitude is a way to change our anger, right? So if I'm pissed off and I'm mad and I'm venting to God, then I'm gonna say, Lord, thank you for X, Y, and Z. Thank you for A, B, and C. Thank you for element. Thank you for all these different things. Thank you, God, right? 5 different things. I'm thankful that I got, okay? And then what are lessons we learned from those situations? Like, okay, God, I'm learning. I see what you did there, Lord. I see how you did this, and that. Or, even in being real, like if we have an attitude with something or someone, then guess what we learned? Not to deal with those people anymore, or not to address them in a certain way, or not to speak up. You learn certain things of how to behave, right? And then you pray. And you say, God, I trust you with this issue of my heart. I trust you with this concern. God, please show me how you want me to deal with this. And how do you want me to go forward, right? And you just leave it there. God, not my will, but thy will be done. None of that is easy, which is why it's important to stay still. It's important not to act. If you sit still after that, God, thy will be done, you tell me what to do. And you wait. And I suggest you wait with a pen and a piece of paper. Because once everything clears and comes down in you, once you feel a peace over yourself, then you can hear clearly at that point. And so I would say, if you're having trouble hearing from God, because the intrusive thoughts, I think we all deal with intrusive thoughts. So if you're having trouble hearing from God and battling with intrusive thoughts, get those things out first. Release those things first. And then say, God, how would you have me do this? Okay. And if you're growing in your relationship with God and you're like, well, I don't really know how the Lord behaves, right? Then look into the fruit of the Spirit. Okay. Because that'll tell you about God's patience, kindness, gentleness, those things, right? Just look into the fruit of the Spirit. But I would suggest that you be intentional, okay, to sit before God for 1 hour every day. That's whether you have a complaint to file, what's it called? Petition your request, right? That's what prayer is. Prayer is petitioning your request to God. So 1 hour, give yourself an hour to sit with God, or until you no longer feel that anguish or those issues, okay? And let me see, you're only 15. Oh, Howie, okay, you're only 15 and you're coming into adulthood. Sometimes you get really confused with the messages. Okay. That's normal because you're a young adult and well, you're becoming a young adult. Okay. And so right now you might have a lot of different voices coming at you. Do this, do this, do that, do that, do this, do that. Howie, take 30 minutes to an hour and just be quiet if you can. Okay. If you can just take that time to yourself and just give God thankfulness for what's good in your life. And if you have anything that's going on that's bad in your life, still vent that out to God as well. God, why am I here? God, change this. You being 15 doesn't mean God can't use you. That doesn't mean God didn't choose you. And also, even you asking these questions now shows that God has called you for a purpose, okay? Because if you did not, you would not have these questions about chasing God and getting closer to God either. So I started my relationship with God when I was 12. All I did at that time, I was connected to a church. So I would say, get connected to a church, or go where your family goes. Because sometimes at 15, you have to do what your family says to do. So go where your family goes or get connected to a church, even if it's something online. Okay. But find time, quiet time. Okay. Because you have social media and, just the internet, all these things and all these people. Okay. Find quiet time. Unplug from social media. Okay. Unplug from outside noise and just write. Just write your prayers, write your complaints, whatever you need to do, write it down and just say, God, I'm here and I just want to get closer to you. Like, Holy Spirit, can you be with me? I started in one of my journals, I started just writing, instead of like, hey, God, instead of saying, hey, God, or good morning, Holy Spirit, or things like that, which I still say those things, I got intentional about saying, good morning, God. And I would say, thank you for being Emmanuel, which means God with us. And so I used to write that every morning for a certain time. Thank you for being Emmanuel, God with us. Because I know that no matter what I face in the day, if God is with me, it is well. If God is with me and it doesn't feel good, it's going to work out. If God is with me, I'm going to make it through it. Okay? So start there. Just start by letting God know you're available to be used, Howie. Start letting God know that you're available to be used by him, and just know, that challenges are going to happen no matter what, to each of us, no matter what our age is, no matter where we are with our relationship with God. Challenges will always happen, but because God is with us, we can overcome those things. We can face those things, and it's going to get better. Okay. So I would say also, if you don't know your Bible, read it for your own understanding and ask God to show you what he wants you to see. Because every single time you read the Bible, even if you read one passage for a month, right? The same one passage for a month. Every time you read it, God shows you something different depending on what you're going through in your life and where you're going to in your life. So be mindful that you read it lightly, because you never know what experience God is taking you through at that time. And nobody can really interpret the Bible for you. I always say the Bible's not about interpreting. It's about hearing from God and understanding what God is saying to you through the words in the Bible. Okay, Howie? So I hope I answered your question. You guys can keep the questions and comments coming. Let's see. We are almost at 2:30. So let me just let you guys know, to book a session with me, you can book a chat with the coach at www.stan, that's STAN.store/stalk your destiny. And stalk is STALK. You can book the one-on-one coaching session with me if you need about up to 2 hours to go over anything in business and personal life. I am a chaos coordinator and life coach. You can book a one-on-one phone call, which is a chat with the coach. That is up to 45 minutes with me, where we can go over topics that you just want more information about or more help or support with in terms of speaking to a professional. I am not a licensed therapist. I will not diagnose anything. If I believe that you need therapy, I can suggest that with you. However, that is not my goal. My goal is to assist you in overcoming obstacles, navigating mental health, getting clear on who you are, where you are in your life, your goals, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. Okay. And you can book a discovery call too if you just want to see if I'm someone you should work with in the future or not. You can book a discovery call. That call is up to 20 minutes. Again, that is www.stan.store/stalkyourdestiny to book a session with me. So this is good so far, y'all. I hope y'all are listening in. I hope you're liking and sharing the video. Those of you online, I hope you're just telling somebody else, hey, like, listen into this, because we're talking about faith for the month of September. And this is not about just receiving things all the time. Life's not always about receiving. Sometimes it's about understanding ourselves better and getting to the next level, right? So our topic for today, our business topic for today is effective beliefs and acts of faith. Okay, effective beliefs and acts of faith, which goes along with what we were just discussing. It goes along with our execution, and planning in terms of the desired results, right? And then it goes along with us saying about the questions that Howie had with, believing and hearing from God and those different things, So effectiveness and acts of faith. I wrote down a couple questions for today to just kind of go over, okay? And one says, do you really believe what God says? Because there are times where we hear from God. We do. And it's so funny because we I think we're all guilty of it. We hear from God and we go, nah, bro, that ain't it. It's like, I don't want to hear that. That's not the answer I wanted. Or we don't believe it because it's so good that we're just like, you couldn't be talking to me. I must have made that up myself, right? And so we reject it. And so when I'm dealing with clients and everything too, I always say, like, if you're praying about things and you get an initial response, stick to that. Or when I challenge people on thoughts and I say, well, what's your answer to this? What would you say? And the first response is what I want. I want the first response because the first response is what you really meant, right? Okay, Howie says, that's me right there. Yes, so when you get a response, stick to that response, you guys, because whether we believe what God says or not, he already said it. He said it, And so once God says it, then you go forward in that. And so it's funny because it's like the effective belief and acts of faith part of this is when I say, do you really believe what God says? It's like you received a response. Okay. Do you believe that you received a response? Did you got it? Did you believe that was it? Right. And if in fact you believe that was it, that was the response, did you walk in it? I've heard some people say that if a prophet gives a prophecy, right, when they speak life into you or, speak over your future, they say to grab hold of that, you start walking into it. But when God gives us responses to our prayers or directions, because you can't always just do what you want to do. Okay. So when God gives us directive, like you say, God, I'm about to punch so-and-so in the face. And God's like, no, I need you to actually go bless that person. Wait, what? Go do what now, Lord? No, don't punch them in the face. I know they're irritating. I need you to go bless them. I need you to be of service to me. So even when God is giving us direction, do we take the initiative and act on that faith? Because if that's the God that you serve, which we're talking about the God of the Bible, if this is the God that we serve and he's saying, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, well, are you going to act on your belief? My belief is that I talked to God about an issue. I heard from God and I didn't want to hear that. But because I believe and because I trust God, I'm going to walk in this thing. It doesn't make sense, and I told you guys that you were going to learn more about me on this journey with me. Okay. This is Tea Time with Tarah, live and on air. So I am Tarah and you're going to learn more about me. Do you really believe what God says? And I think I told you guys that Over a year ago, God said, you need to pack up your house. You're going to move. Do not renew your lease. Like, don't pass go. Don't collect $200. As a matter of fact, unload clients. As a matter of fact, leave your kids behind for now. As a matter of fact, leave all that stuff. Wait, God, I'm already lacking where I'm at. I'm already not well where I'm at. God's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm taking you. I know what I have in store for you. And that goes into saying, like, will you release what's in your hand? Because we have control, right? We all have control over all these things, right? Will you release what you have control of and what's in your hands so that God can give you what he has for you? Will you do that? Do you really believe what God says? And moreover, where is your faith? Where is your faith? Is your faith in you? Because we run into so many people in 2024 who talk about faith and they're really just talking about themselves. Now, believing in God will have you out here looking stupid, okay? I moved, y'all. I did what God told me to do. I left the things behind. And people were thinking like, well, where's your palace? Where is your abundance? Where's your abundant life, you know? And so it's not always what we think it looks like. That doesn't mean it's not what it is. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It's not always what we expect it to be on our own terms. God moves in his terms. Has God failed me yet? No. Is that just a humble reply? No. Has God responded to some of the prayers that I've had regarding this move? Yes. But guess what happened? Where's my faith? Just like the question says to you all, where's your faith? My faith was in the obedience that God said it. And so I did it. Okay. And I did it kicking and screaming. And I got here kicking and screaming. Okay. This was not my choice. And this is where you know when things are of God, it's not even your choice. It's not up to you. It's up to you to obey and go forward, right? And so what can I tell you, right? I'm in a new town. I don't know anybody. I get interviewed on a podcast, and then guess what? I get the opportunity to do this right here before you guys from an interview. Now I get to speak to hundreds of thousands of people. I never did that. I was on the radio for years. I never spoke to hundreds of thousands of people. Never. And guess what God says? You have a voice and it needs to be heard. So guess what God's going to do when you give him your faith? He's going to do above and beyond what you asked or imagined. I didn't ask for 100,000 listeners. God told me you would have that. I didn't ask for the millions that are coming. God told me because of my obedience. I didn't ask to write these books. Okay? I was told to write these books. I was told what to write in these books. Okay? And so why do I say all of this, you guys? Because it's not about tooting a horn. It's about increasing your faith. It's about saying that God responds to our faith. Okay? And even if it's say the faith of a mustard seed, hold on to that, because that takes you places that your own mind can't conceive to go. It takes you places, that elevation. When you surrender to God, and that's what most of us have trouble with doing, like, hey, I believe in God, but I'm about to make this happen on my own. That's not faith at all. You know, you can believe that I believe in God and I'm about to do this, you know, and I'm going to just do it my way and I'll ask God about it later. Some people would rather ask for forgiveness than obey. You know, they would just do it their way and ask God to fix it later. And if that's what you choose, then hey, that's what free will. That's your choice. That's your choice. Okay. But can God trust you to be obedient? Can he trust you to hear from him? Write it down and then do what you need to do, even if it's hard. What if it's amazing, right? Can God trust you to do the amazing things? Like blessing people, you know, even though you broke. Like, even though you barely are staying in your own house, but God says, let somebody else stay there and don't charge them. Can you do it? Can you be obedient for real? Because we're here to be vessels. This is many members and one body. And what that means that as a collective, each person we come in contact with, and maybe not every person, but we have people that we come in contact with, you should be able to bless their life by showing up. And I don't mean it in a vain way where, oh, you're like, my presence is a blessing and you should be happy. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that you operating in your God-given talent or gift and showing up in the life of somebody else should bless them before you exit, even if it's a moment. Even if it's a moment. Are you being obedient to doing what God is calling you to do? Do you know who you are? Right? Do you know what gift you have? Like, what do people say about you? You know, that your presence just lights them up. What is it about you? Is it your personality? Is it your joy? Is it your smile? Is it your eyes? Is it just you? Is it your laugh? What is it about you? Is it the way that you just show up to help people? You just always volunteering and people just see that in you and they just want to bless you? You know, for that, we are many members in one body, y'all. This is why our differences are important. Our differences make the world go round, right? Our differences are supposed to help each other. We all don't need to be the same. If we were the same, we'd be robots, you know, in a Stepford Housewives type of situation, okay? God made us different for a reason. I need your difference. You need my difference. Because together, we can do things and make a bigger difference, if that makes sense. Okay? And so, are you doing what God says or are you doing what people are saying? Again, the topic is effective beliefs and acts of faith. That's our topic for today. Effective beliefs, not just beliefs, effective beliefs and acts of faith. So, are you doing what God is telling you to do? Are you even hearing from God? Or are you doing what people tell you to do? And this goes back to what Howie was saying. You know, we have so many people that we go to for advice or comfort, that we go to for comfort as well. And those people could mean well. They could be some of the best people we know, and they could mean well. And guess what you still have to do? You still have to say, God, I talked to my aunt, I talked to my best friend, I talked to my uncle, I talked to my siblings, talked to my parents. But what do you say? What do you say, Lord? I love my family and friends, but what do you say? Because we can get caught up. You know, sometimes we just take what people say and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And we try it anyway because we love those people and we care. And we know that they love us and we know that they care. And so we want to take into consideration what they said and make them feel like what they said matters. So we want to go ahead and do it because we don't know what to do. So we listen to them on what they say we should do, right? And that's not for you. Sometimes people sharing is just that. They're sharing because they care. Thank you for caring and showing me. I'm going to line this up with what God says and see if this is the direction God wants me to go. You know? And you just do that by saying, God, is this your will for me to do X, Y, and Z? Or God, which way would you have me to go in this? How would you have me to handle this? Okay? Or anything like that. Open-ended questions. Asking God, please direct me. Okay? Are you doing what God says or what people are saying? It's important to know the difference in that. Okay? It's important to clear the voices. Howie's question just made a lot, helped to make a lot of points for you guys today. Just quiet your minds. There's a song and I love it, and I don't even know who sings it, but I use it on some of my reels on social media. And it says, quiet the noise in my mind, Lord, and open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. So Howie said, not sure if I get 2 questions in one show, but how would you go about cutting ties with a friend? Because God told me that's necessary for me to go forward. Great show. I will be back for sure. Thank you, Howie. And that's a great question. So like with people that don't, let me see. The song says, quiet the noise in my mind, Lord, and open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you, right? If God is directing you to do something for him and you're willing to do what God is saying, then you do it in love. I would suggest you do it in love, okay? And sometimes it may just be where you back off slowly, If God is saying you need to go ahead and cut ties, then you say, thank you for being in my life all this time, but I'm going in a different direction. I'm going the way that God told me to go. And I think that our season has changed. And this is what God wants me to do. You can say that. I love you. I thank you. And I don't know if we're going to connect later in life, but right now, God is telling me to take some time away from our friendship. So I'm going to back down. Okay. And so ask God to show you how to do it with love. Because when you are elevating or changing, when God's changing your life, people and things around you are going to change. Okay. And I'm one of those people that I'm just like, I don't have to let people go, but dynamics of relationships have to change. So if God is saying let them go, then, the dynamic of the relationship changes. It doesn't mean that I hate them. It doesn't mean I don't love them. It means that the dynamic of the relationship changed. And so now maybe I'm not calling. Maybe I'm not texting. I'm definitely not showing up or going out, and if it needs to be a conversation to be had, then it's going to be one with love, that this is no longer working, and respectfully, our season has ended. I'm going to go with the changes. Okay. So hopefully that helps you, Howie, and all of you. Hopefully that is something that did help you. Okay. And so getting to quiet the noise in my mind, Lord, and open the eyes of my heart, I want to see you. It's just saying, like, God, more than anything, I want to be effective in the fact that I do believe in you. And I want my actions to line up to where my faith is. And if it's my faith that needs to grow, then God, show me how. Show me what to do. Okay? And make it so that it's possible for me, God. And, when we talk about faith, blind faith, it's a blind faith is a real thing too. It's like trusting God even when you can't see what's next. You don't know how this is going to work out. But God, like, God, I trust you. Like, this is where you call on Emmanuel. Like, God, be with me. Every step of the way, God, be with me, because this is scary. I told you guys, I moved and did what God told me to do, kicking and screaming, because I was terrified. But my obedience and my faith carried me through. And God is coming through like he said he would. And is everything perfect? No. Everything is not perfect. This is not a fairy tale. Okay. And fairy tales do come true. And if you pay attention, the majority of a fairy tale is the destruction. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a fairy tale. This is trust and faith in God. This is what's getting my voice to you. This is what's gotten me from one book to 13 plus books. Time with God is very important, y'all. Our obedience to God is critical. And if you don't know how, then just remember that he can be your best friend too. God can be your best friend. And you say, God, like, really, like, show me how to do this, because you know how I am. God knows you. He formed you, y'all. He knows us so well. God knows he knows details about us we don't know. God knows details about us we don't even acknowledge. Like, who knew I would be this person today? Who knew you would be who you are today? Right? But God knows who he created you to be tomorrow. And we're not even there yet. I don't know how many hours you all have until the next day in your life, the next today in your life. But God knows. And he already knows what kind of person you're going to be. He already knows what issues of your heart you're going to deal with. He already knows how you're going to handle the situations. Will you open up and be obedient to God? Will you really work your faith by being effective in what you believe, getting to know God more, getting in his Bible more, just getting to know him more? It's a relationship, right? And using that, acting on what God tells you after you spend quality time with God and say, what would you like me to do? Thy will be done. And then you say, have your way, God. And if you need to know, well, God, when am I supposed to do this? Then just ask. It's a relationship, you all. We can ask God whatever we need to ask God. We can gain understanding for whatever we need to understand. It's a relationship. So grow in your desire to have a relationship with God. Grow in your faith, okay? And we do grow in our faith the more we learn about God, the more that we understand God, and the more we see his hand at work. And if you have any issues with, like, well, I don't see God, I don't hear from God. Okay, all right, take a deep breath and let it out. That's God. We did not set up our own systems to breathe. We did not set up our own systems for the activity of our limbs. We did not set up our own systems for our senses. We did not set up our own systems for our bodies to work the way that they work at all. But we are here. We are present. We are alive. We are well. If you can smile, do y'all know that's a blessing? It's a blessing to be able to speak, look, think, breathe, move my face. It is a blessing to have the activity of our limbs and muscles of our bodies. It is a blessing to be here, to listen, to hear, to see. Oh my God. Okay. So if you need more reminder of who God is or how God's everywhere with us, step outside and just be. Step outside and just be. Look at the trees. They're going to talk. Listen to the birds and the bugs. They're going to talk. They're going to speak. Okay. Take in the wind moving. Okay. And just be. You can do that in your hour of power as well. Breathe and be. It helps you to reset as well. It helps you to take off the world and to just grow in your faith there. Okay. God is our comforter, guys. He's everything we need. Okay. All right, y'all. So that's it for our lesson for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed that and our devotional for the day too, as well as our quote, food for thought for the day, y'all. So if you want to be a sponsor for the Tea Time with Tarah show, or if you want to donate to the show, right? There's two different things you can do. To be a sponsor of the show, you can send me an email at teatimewithtara@gmail.com, and I can send you our packages. Some of those sponsorship packages include being shout out at the beginning of the show, being shout out at the end of the show, or mentioned, I should say. You can run one where, I don't know if you saw the show previously, where I had on a shirt for someone, a t-shirt that advertised their business. And so that I was able to shout them out and their website and everything. If you'd like a scroll at the bottom. So different things, right? The packages are different. They come with different levels, and you should be able to sponsor at any level. If you just wanted to donate to the show, you can donate to the show via Cash App at Stalk Your Destiny. You can donate to the show at Venmo using Stalk Your Destiny. Cash App is # Stalk Your Destiny. Venmo is just Stalk Your Destiny, or you can go to paypal.me/Stalk Your Destiny. Okay, and it's paypal.me/Stalk Your Destiny. Okay, and so those are the ways that you can donate or be a sponsor. Why would you want to be a sponsor to this show? You would want to be a sponsor to this show because, again, we're reaching hundreds of thousands of people here. We are changing lives daily. If you believe in being a part of that, or if you just have a product, service, or business that you want to promote, this is internet radio at BFAM 1096. It's heard in over 79 countries, so that's exposure for you. Also, with this being live on YouTube as well as Facebook on the BFAM page as well, you're getting different types of exposure and just getting the sound out about who you are and what you may have going on. So again, for sponsorship, you can email you can email teatimewithtara@gmail.com, or for donations of any kind, just to support the show, you can Cash App at #Stalk Your Destiny, Venmo at Stalk Your Destiny, or paypal.me/Stalk Your Destiny. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the show. Howie, I can't wait for you to return. April, thank you so much for your comment as well, guys. Today's show, let me tell you, I wasn't ready that far for the show today. I didn't know where God wanted to take it, but guess what? The obedience of showing up does. It allows God to have his way. Okay. And so I'm thankful that I showed up today for you guys. Again, you can buy this devotional. This is the one we're in for the month of September. This is the faith devotional, and that's at stalkyourdestiny.com/shop. You can get where we get our business quotes from, ABCs to Stalk Your Destiny. That's also at stalkyourdestiny.com/shop. And remember, to be a sponsor, go ahead and email me at teatimewithtara@gmail.com, y'all. Okay, and check me out on IG. I'm sorry, guys, I lost that part. You can also follow me, connect with me on Instagram at Stalk Your Destiny Official. That's Stalk Your Destiny Official on Instagram. Give me one moment. I dropped my introduction card. Hold on. Okay. So, thank you for sticking around with me, guys. BFAM 109.6, YouTube and Facebook Live. This has been the Tea Time with Tarah show. This has been Tea Time with Tarah live and on air. I am your host, Tarah M. Williams, the voice of faith, hope, love, and leadership. Here we discuss business and Bible basics. We believe you have a voice and it needs to be heard. Be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube page, Stalk Your Destiny. If you have not already, go over there and do it. Also, catch my show. You can catch episodes that have already been recorded of the Tea Time with Tarah show. That is separate from Tea Time with Tarah live and on air. And there is where my guests talk about what they need on their journey to stalking their destiny. Okay? Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram at Stalk Your Destiny Official. Again, I am Tarah M. Williams. This has been Tea Time with Tarah live and on air. You can catch me here every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So set your alarms, guys. Every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, have an amazing week. Be sure to share the video, and you can always comment and we can respond back and forth to you guys as you do. All right. So have a great week. I am Tarah M. Williams, Tea Time with Tarah, live and on air with BFAM 109.6. Until next time.
I'm staying focused on what I'm gonna be. I'm making that down, but I won't lose ground. 'Cause I'm still stuck in my destiny. I'm still stuck in my destiny.
Every time it's on everything, alive, you cheesing, I'm cheddaring. No matter the form of the weaponry, gotta keep stalking my destiny. Time's getting worse, I'm bettering. My sin is secure, ain't no tethering. I ain't gonna stop till I rest in peace and they put so hard on my grave lettering. Every time, I ain't lay back unless I'm in my 300. Circle is little, cause I keep it 100. Minus my issues, I'm so hard when I'm on it. 100% ain't enough, I get 200. Every time, know what I'ma run from. I'm that one opponent, you don't want none from. Manual van where my strength get pumped from. So let's go ride to the child of God. Standing toe to toe, no hot now. The Lord is with me, you can't fight the rock. I got the sauce, you want out of high. The destiny mine, I'ma stalk it out. The strength is happening, you just bought it out. Your giant carcass, I'ma walk it out. You gon' be wishing that you wouldn't have called me out. Cause every time be on that throw down, let's get us a showdown. Come and get some, I got another go around. Big as they is, so hard they go down. Since destiny something we can't change, but quitting will stop you from great gains. And faith will make capable great things. I done decided to break pain. Lives around and call me on my A game, so speed like the A train. The thing that I'm stalking on, I gotta maintain. I'm by myself, I don't gang bang. When you want to get in my crown, then I'm down every time, not just now and then. Yeah, I heard you got your thousands, but me, yo, I got my 10,000s. God gave me dreams doing that, I would chest it.